On day 16 of the Russian invasion, one that many expected to be a lightning victory over the Ukrainians, that failure has led to intense scrutiny of the military and intelligence preparations ahead of the decision to invade. And I'm joined now by Andrei Soldatov, who's a Russian security expert and writer. Good to see you. Thanks for your time this evening. So the invasion hasn't gone according to plan for President Putin. Is that because the intelligence he received was wrong?
Well, it certainly looks this way. And the events today, that when it became known that there are some arrests inside of the FSB's foreign intelligence branch, reflects this new reality that Putin finally understood, but he was terribly misled.
So, punishments then for people who gave him the briefing in the first place. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. The FSB is one of three intelligence agencies, and officially it's mostly responsible for domestic operations, counterterrorism, counterintelligence. But it also has a foreign intelligence branch with an area of responsibility, the former Soviet Union, and primarily Ukraine. These people were there to provide valuable intelligence to Putin, and apparently they failed.
And of course, one of the biggest failings was the fact that President Putin underestimated the strength of the Ukrainian opposition, the strength of the Ukrainian resistance.
Absolutely. But I think that the FSB is only partly to blame for this intelligence failure. I just want to remind you that Vladimir Putin himself, as a former KGB officer, he is an intelligence officer by his training. But unfortunately, it looks like he was ready to be briefed only in the way that wanted to hear what he wanted to hear about the situation on the ground in Ukraine.
Is part of the problem that the intelligence services are so worried and concerned about President Putin's reaction to what they tell him, they actually only tell him what they think they want him to hear?
Absolutely. And I think we see this huge political element and the military planning, looking at what our Russian troops are doing in Ukraine. For instance, we have not only the military on the ground, but we have anti-riot police units sent into Ukraine. It doesn't make any sense militarily speaking. It makes sense only if you believe that you are sending troops to Ukraine and it's absolutely dysfunctional state, and you would be dealing only with some gangs of drug addicts, exactly what Putin was saying several days ago.
Your line is breaking up slightly, but we're going to stick with it. We can just about hear what you're saying. Something that has struck me is the strength of feeling amongst many Russian troops who seem to be feeling misled by what this was all about. They have been reacting, according to reports, in a way which suggests that they didn't know what they were in for. I've also read reports that intelligence officials and officers are actually embedded with the troops to almost spy on them. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. We have one of the biggest FSB departments is military counterintelligence. And their job is to spy on the military and to make sure they stay loyal. But it doesn't help when you are dealing with a situation on the battlefield. These people, they actually limit the activities and of the commanding officers. So it's not really helpful to have these people embedded with the units.
What do you think those intelligence officers are telling President Putin now on day 16?
Well, I think now there is a huge confusion because these recent arrests, they do not help, unfortunately. When you respond to some intelligence failure with repressions, it just means that your people, your intelligence agencies would be more fearful of you and even more hesitant at giving you the real situation on the ground, which is, to be honest, absolutely horrible for Russian troops.
There has been talk about the possibility of a palace coup, of somebody within the inner circle of Putin perhaps rising up against him. Now, it might be outlandish, and we know that Putin certainly is very careful who he mixes with, but can you see something like that potentially happening?
Well, remember that Vladimir Putin is a former KGB officer, which means that he takes his personal security very seriously. He has not one, but two intelligence agencies in charge of only providing him with his security. And he is always saying yes to more requests from his personal detail, like maybe we need more cars. Of course, he would say yes. Maybe we need more protection. Always he said yes. So I would say that this possibility seems to be very unlikely. And also remember that he is proud to survive. Well, he's claiming sometimes that he survived more than 1,000 attempts on his life. He is very aware of this problem.
Wow, fascinating stuff. Really interesting getting your analysis on the inner workings of the FSB. Thank you very much, Andrei Soldatov. Good to see you.